we've got 45 minutes till my gummy totally kicks in.
Is, is that when things get good, or is that when things go downhill?
That's when things get better than they are.
At
least
got
for
till
you,
about.
I know all about those big city women. I know what goes on in those back rooms at night. A handsome young man with his wallet in his hand can get by on a wink and a smile.
What's up, Steve Ebe?
Hey, how's everything going? You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
good.
you're fine. Sounds good. I like the backdrop there. That's
This is where I do my stuff every day.
Yeah.
no,
It's awesome.
that's looks like it sounds good.
Cottros is in the house. He's got a Shure SM57 lined up. That's
I was about
a
to
lovely
say.
sight.
Yeah, this was the closest mic I had. I had it on a Princeton Reverb just now, and I just moved it. So there we are.
Why don't you just keep it on that and
Well,
crank it up and
yeah,
and get some spring reverb on it, and then
yeah. How are you guys?
we're good. We're good.
Living the dream.
I got so many ideas for all y'all.
Nice.
That's a little dangerous when that happens, guys. You know that. All right. Well, we're gathered here with Steve Ebe, Chris Cottros, joining us from their respective rooms with all sorts of fun audio devices in the background. We've got a Shure SM57 in Cottros' house, which brings back memories for me. I think Jeff and I started our careers singing into SM57s before we realized there was something better out there. We're going to talk about Dreamland, the live CD, affectionately known as Bootleg 7, in the stream of bootlegs that have come out over the years, hitting the airwaves. What is it, June 12th, is it, or 13th?
13th, it's Tuesday.
13th, lucky 13th, yeah, Tuesday. So we're recording this a few days before, but hoping this will hit the airwaves about the same time. So welcome, Chris. Welcome, Steve. Good to see you, Jeff. Tell us what you want to talk about, Holmes. Lead us into some musical discussions here.
Well, first of all, I was going to mention to you guys before we came on air that last night I did a deep dive on Led Zeppelin, and I think I listened to Since I've Been Loving You, the live version, twice. And then I spiraled off into System of a Down and Rage Against the Machine.
Was it the BBC live thing for Zeppelin?
No, it was from the movie.
Okay, yeah. There's a BBC broadcast version of that song that's just fire.
I mean, that song is going to be fire anyway. Best 12/8 blues. Invented the turnarounds and the upbeat jazz stuff. Anyway, that got me thinking about live bands. And, you know, I mean, going all the way back to the acoustic trio, we always played and sounded better live because you don't have to sit in one place and not make the chair squeak. And if you know, well, there's only two clowns on the record that I can find. I won't say whose they are, but you have one, Scott, that I haven't heard yet.
At least one.
Okay. But you know, you hit a clamp. You know, screw it. Just keep on blazing, man. And so that was always home for us. And there was something in that room that night. Now we've established that it was Labor Day weekend, not Halloween, right?
I'm still a little iffy on that, but we'll go with that.
I don't think it was Halloween at all. No, I think it was Labor Day. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was all night too. Most of it was late night.
Yeah.
And we had worn the hell out of those people. I mean, by the time we got to Vanishing Man and Loser for the Evening, we were pushing 4 hours, if not over it, and we still couldn't get enough. And we had killed them the night before. But Skippy always takes night 2 because he says we're always tighter. And so that's what he did in this particular case. And holy shit, look at the results. In my discussions with, I won't go on a long soliloquy here, but in my discussions with, we didn't do a lot of media, just people we know, old friends. You know, Jesse Scott's been with us since the XM radio days. All the cats up in New York and New Jersey have been with us since the New York hubbub with Vince Gillis and stuff back in that. And they've got podcasting radio stations and all sorts of things. And guys like Michael McCall, you know, at the Country Music Hall of Fame, who used to be still is a great writer, but and everything I hear about this was, you know, damn, I always loved the lyrics and the harmonies. I'm just now realizing what a badass fucking band it was. And that's coming at me from all sides in all my conversations. And I think I agree 100%. It's very much a band album. You know, we're supposed to be pushing the songs, and we're doing that. We put the lyrics front and center in our little coffee table book. And but Scott was very smart and just froze the screen when something brilliant was happening musically. No distractions. And so I wanted to go into some of that and let you guys talk about what you were hearing, what you were feeling, what you can remember. I mean, you could tell by listening what you were doing. And obviously everybody was getting good sounds. And maybe, Chris, we'll start with you. It seemed like everything you touched just rang in that room just right that night. Some of the ambient descant type work, going all the way back to Lemon Pie songs, was off the chain. What was your reaction when you listened to the record and listened to what you played?
You know, man, I think I was still trying to shed the last remnants of my West Coast, you know, LA guitar shredder days mixed in with man, I don't know. I mean, it when I listened to it that Sunday that we were listening to all of it together for the first time and ever, man, I forgot I played like that, because I don't play anything like that nowadays. Oh, I try not to. I played all the notes and a few more, you know, that night.
Well, you also got that thing to really talk back to you.
Yeah, well, there was some real shit happening, you know. I mean, think about the room that we were playing in. Mm-hmm. The vibe that all of us had in that room. I had played that room a billion times at that point anyway. That was the coolest place to play in Nashville. I mean, hands down.
Oh yeah.
I love a few other places, but that was the place that I played. The first place I'd ever played with you guys was that room. 12th and Porter, you know. I mean, that was, you know, that was the cool. So there was a lot of memories. Sonically, I always sounded good in that place because it was just a great room. The bar, the funky restaurant next to, I mean, it was, you know, all of it. And, but yeah, as far as 2004 ish, I mean, you know, I was still probably wrestling with my LA want to be a shredder mixed in with a hipster jazz Boston whatever thing. And, you know, I mean, it's only been in recent times. Now there's no gigs. It's only been in recent times that I've actually figured out what the hell it is that I really do. Like I wish we could do it all over again.
Well,
I'm in a totally different spot, but
we're going to.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm saying, like, if we could go back, and it's like, you know, it's like that was some heavy stuff. But, you know, I was also kind of reacting to Jody Nardone and Dave Steele and
Yep.
That's something I was thinking. You know, the band sounds on that like a bunch of rambunctious young men for sure, but and you know, maybe we all said a few more things than we would now in the same situation, but it was so stream of consciousness, almost like the band was playing us. You know, it was pulling each thing somebody did would pull something else out of another instrument, you know.
Yeah,
I got a perfect example of that too, and I'm gonna blame the mad scientist mischief maker Cottros on this. Just going into All Young Ladies, which is one of the few songs from the first set that night on the album. You started.
We used to open the gig with that a lot, right?
Yeah, because it was like, you know, short pass underneath to give your offense a little confidence type thing. and you started in on the guest seat. You started baiting. You do that all the time. You always did, and I always loved it. And we could all hang with it. You started baiting Steele, and you guys did that one quote. He grabbed the one quote on the countdown. Scott, this is a cutaway to music moment where you guys hit American Woman.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Stuff like that. Every time you played with any,
because we were stoned. I mean, not stoned. We were just having a good time. I mean, it was free. Yeah. There were no gigs that, I mean, I don't want to speak for David, but I'm pretty sure I can. And that there were very few gigs at the time that any of us were doing outside of the Floating Men that allowed us that kind of freedom to just do what we really can do. And, you know, and one would think that that's what it should always be, but, you know, there it is.
We're trying to blow out the fog from last night. Thanks to those folks who joined us last night and decided it was safe to come back for night 2. Some of you. There's still people in bed somewhere.
From outer space, blame it on everything. Children will stand behind. Blame it all on the white skin she hit in her boot at the gate. You are young ladies' life. I got the gleam of peace always run on by. You are young ladies' all young ladies lie. Cider and cinnamon soup, grass on the golden leaf. It was flat on the clean hair giant out there in the autumn swamp. So I could taste the heat of 1,000 eternities. Rain on the watery beat on her swimming toe. Yeah, now. You are lover's life. I know the deal is always settled down. You are young lover's life. You are young lover's life. You are young lover's life. You are lover's life.
I believe we had literally days or a week before walked out of the studio from the second haunting session. And that's one of the reasons we were so dialed in, was that we had been.
I don't recall the proximity of those dates, but golly, 2004 was a long time ago.
And that was what was surprising to me, to hear that both Haunt You Down and Demolition Day, we played those live, because I don't know, Jeff, what do you think? Maybe a half dozen times we played those songs live after that?
Less. We did, we only did Cronies twice, I think.
And Cronies and Jones, yeah.
Yeah, we only did those two twice. Jones maybe 3 or 4 times. But Haunt You Down, I mean, it wasn't going to work without the whole shebang there. And since we were a movable feast of pieces and parts that could adapt to any lineup, we didn't know, there were some cases where I didn't feel comfortable trying to pull it off.
Right.
And also, especially on those two, the way everybody did, and throughout the show, but on those two, it really struck me, the way everybody developed their voicings and their inversions and counter melodies and theme and variation that was weaving in and out of everything you guys were doing was also, I mean, it sounds, people say, well, it sounds like a studio album. No, we weren't playing like a studio band, though. We were playing like some badass motherfuckers.
Bundle up my clothes and dump them down some dead end road. Out in the raw, and cold. The buzzards and the crows are watching from the cypress groves. Wow, fall, so Out on the skies of gunmetal gray, you wander miles of unbundled hay. You'll stop in cotton line riding on the blood red clay when you lose your way. In squalls of autumn brown, I'm gonna haul you down. Some windy Halloween, I'll come scratching at your window screen, unwanted, unclean. Some windy Halloween, you're scratching at your window screen. It's only burn them down some dirty road. And they're all and cold. The buzzards and the crows, waiting jagged snags of oaks and all your fall so unwanted, fall so
Yeah, the sounds were quite clean on there. I mean, you don't always hear that on a bar band stage, you know, that kind of separation and definition of the instruments.
You know, when you got a chance to listen to the full complement of songs, like, was there something that kind of stuck out to you as being, like, I don't know, your favorite, or a moment in a song that you kind of keyed in on?
You know, some of the extended solos, the conversations that would happen inside the band was to me the most exciting stuff, because those were the blanks waiting to be filled, right? Because sometimes it was just we would play the song, and the song was played well, and it's all energetic, and the lyrics are getting across, and then there's this green light Like, okay, fellas, cut loose.
And Jody was a big instigator on that that particular show. Now I have a theory. Cottros, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I have speaking of, the conversations between the band, the musical conversations. I have a theory that you instigated taking Loser for the Evening into Hey Jude. You were leaning into that 7th replacement for the 2 minor and giving it a little bit more of a bluesy feel that made and you either said substitute to him or he heard what you were doing and he went into it, and it's amazing how fast we all latched on.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out who made that happen, if it was one of the guitars or if it was Jody.
It's da 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 da.
Right.
Oh yeah.
On the piano.
All right, okay. So yeah, I mean, in as much as I can quote anything that's great, I will as often as possible. And it just sort of happens spontaneously because the kids love it. I was never really like a Deadhead, but I love the philosophy behind that whole scene where they were just, like anything would happen spontaneously that would be musical and non-musical maybe. But I mean, I love that whole ethos. And so if you find a moment like it was with that song, it worked because of the progression and the groove of the song. It worked to end it with that. It's so it was seamless. You couldn't even think of it it just happens in the moment. So I don't remember if I suggested it, or I'm pretty sure I suggested it because I do that kind of crap all the time. So.
I know, and that's why we love you.
Well,
yeah.
Well, to jump back to your question to me before, I think Long-Winded Prayer is the one that sticks out in my brain as a moment where everybody kind of coalesced with, real like youthful enthusiasm, because it seemed like we were all really excited to play that song.
Right. And very new to us all, right? Live, right?
Yeah. We were remembering the parts, if we could, from the studio. And so it was really fresh.
Yeah.
I remember when Cottros, the first time I heard that, and Cottros kicked in on the last verse, he switched to wah-wah, which I had not heard in the few times we had done the song, including in the studio.
Steel? Was it me?
That was you.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Right.
You went to wah-wah, and that song just started driving at that point.
Because Dave Steele does that kind of weird wah stuff, doesn't he? No.
Yeah, he does, but he was busy being, Claypool and Primus over there, getting his Zappa on with the absurdity stuff, Yeah.
I was born to be a salesman, can't you tell that by the smell of my hairspray? I watch a lot of Lawrence Welk to give this creepy brainwashed smile on my face. I'm selling stolen Bibles, I'm going door to door. When I have to use the bathroom, I use open all their drawers. I'm taking all their medications and drinking all of their aftershave. I can counterfeit a funeral plan and falsify financial peace of mind. I'm a devilishly handsome man with a glimmer of salvation in my demoralized life. I go through other patients' purses, I'm an agonizing pain. I'm winking on my nurses when they ask me to explain. I can forge my own prescriptions and step out in the highway while I change. Women call on me, I'm as smooth as a millionaire. Preacher always calls on me, I'm on a shooting way with a prayer. Told the preacher's daughter I'm a spy. Undercover for the drug czar, I penetrate cartels and sell my pipelines. Closing in on a kingpin, I'm setting up a bar. I need the reverend's credit card, but I can't tell her why. Do it for your country, for the glory of the Lord and for the good of our unborn child. Women crawl all over me, I'm as smooth as a millionaire. Preacher always calls on me, I got a soothing way with a prayer. Soothing way with a long-winded prayer. I got a soothing way with a long-winded prayer. I got a soothing way with a long-winded prayer. They found me quoting scripture to the poltergeist and parasites that one-eyed loud. Mixing purgadenic spirits and evading the incriminating daylight hour. Once the deacons call me brother, their wives all call me hon. The hookers call me Candyman, judges call me son. There's money in these hymnals if you steal them every Sunday one by one. Women call on me, I'm as smooth as a millionaire. People always call on me, I got a soothing way with a prayer. Soothing way with a long-winded prayer. I got a soothing way with a long-winded prayer. I got a soothing way with a long-winded prayer.
The songs were really solid without all that jamming, but man, the jamming live is what made it kind of hip too.
Very hip, yeah. And people think they're hearing us just duplicate the studio version
Right.
on some of these songs, don't realize all the internal, as I mentioned earlier, theme and variation and exploration that was going on.
Right.
And I always wanted you guys to go just a little further and then a little further beyond that.
There were
Yeah, I
some
would-
further. There were some further moments. I can kind of hazily remember in Chattanooga, maybe, or whatever. That seemed Chattanooga seemed to be the place where everything kind of went just different, you know.
Extra.
Yeah. But,
Well, you know, I don't think that we really fall into the category that people refer to as jam bands, because that conjures a different, you know, tie-dyed t-shirt image
yeah,
and a certain kind of noodling and staring at your shoes. And what this reminds me of, kind of the combustion that we achieved, was I had a bootleg live tape of the Police on their first tour, and they played at some school, something Polytechnic. Now I'm forgetting the name of the school, but they only had the 9 or 10 songs from the debut album. They didn't have enough music to play the whole night, so they had to stretch things out. And you can hear them composing new songs within those jams that ended up on the second album.
Right.
And it's really brilliant.
Yeah.
I would listen to you guys live, and I would go back and listen to what you played on previous records. But the stuff that was being woven into the songs and the extended stuff would inspire me to go, now what if I throw this at them? I know what they'll do. I bet they'll do this, and except better than my little pea brain can envision it, you know. So I was always soaking it up
and encouraging it, maybe even more so than it needed.
Well, I mean, that was the good boy, bad boy thing me and Scott had. I would be like wanting to take it way the fuck outside. On somebody's, I'd go full on Beck. I would have gone full on, Primus, full on Trent Reznor, if Scott hadn't reeled me back in. And so that was the delicate balance that created the resemblance of sanity in how we approached the songs and the shows.
Holmes, for you, was there I know you've listened to it a lot now, is there a moment in a song or a particular song that you would kind of put on your list as number one for this release?
You're asking me for just one.
What's the first single?
Well, I mean, the reason we changed the sequence and bumped Haunting to the beginning was because it's a hit song. I mean, and it got its share of airplay on XM by Jesse back in the day. But that's a vocal thing. I think that was the best part about that song was the three-piece or the three-part harmonies and the way the voices worked. Chris's Descant in Georgia and how he developed that part out of that one little lick I had down, 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 in the first chorus, and by the end of the song, he just parts the heavens and the sun shines in.
That was Scott. Scott came out to the room and sang it to me. Scott came up with the melody at the end there. That high guitar thing that was kind of a ethereal.
Yeah.
That was Scott. Because I still remember it. You came out to the room where I was stupidly playing. I should have been in the control room, but I was so green, even in 1999. And you sang, "Hey, how about if you did this?" Because I was kind of coming close to some high stuff that made sense. Right.
A little counter melody.
You came out and you sang that to me, and I was like, oh. And then it just went from there. And I mean, that was definitely a collaborative moment. That was when I realized, hey, I want to hang out with these guys.
Planets and moons lie in a brown bag full of shooting stars. Tonight feels a little like Georgia. After we close down the bars, we'll run all the windows down and pass the time on the cheap cigars. How could she love me? How could she ever forget? She stared into my eyes and saw what hadn't happened yet. I can never be children in Georgia. I can never be children at all. How could she not remember the moss at the waterfall. I'll tell you all about Georgia. Some night when you're too tired to sleep, and you night goes out walking, and a haunted shadows just out of reach. I'll sing a love song to Georgia, to one drunken innocent year. But our love, our wildest dreams, while it's cursed and disappeared. How could she not remember? How could she ever forget? You stared into my eyes and saw what had happened again. Have you ever been busted in Buckhead? Have you never been busted at all? How could she not remember the junk man's daughter-in-law? Lie there and wonder how I wound up so far. How could she not remember me? How could she ever forget? She's staring into your eyes to see what had happened here. Have you ever been wasted in Waycross and found shall never grow up? How could she not remember the thimbles of shimmering gold? Hear the folks in her fire all the way to the Tennessee line. How could she not remember her trembling Valentine?
I mean, I could pick several moments in every song, but I think Haunt You Down. I think, if you can, at least once in your life, and you have the skill, you should go ahead and immerse yourself in a prog rock geek out, and which we did. It was a geek out and a freak out. And the sonics on that just blew me away. And also Demolition Day, the sonics on that.
That was mine, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It also has claims. I'm not going to say who. Everything has claims. Yeah.
I mean, it was like you said, we just came out of the studio, and probably that may have been one of the first times, if not the first time, we played a lot of those songs live. And I love what we did in the studio with that, and never figured we could replicate that live. But I think we actually pulled it off, and it actually sounded better to me live than it did in the studio.
Exactly.
Your favorite movie star called. She said she wasn't supposed to buy. I took the thumbtacks off the wall and saw that it was safely, softly packed. I'm waiting on a wrecking ball. By now they're on their way. And yes, I thought you'd never come home on Demolition Day. I saved the velvet chair where you sat cross-legged at my feet. I brushed the tangles from your clean hair, kiss the tears from your blushing cheek. I'm waiting on the wrecking ball. By now they're on their way. And yes, I thought you'd never come home on Demolition Day. Okay, I'll never be the same again. What do I do now? What is when I'm wanted? I can do with or without. I built this hide out of a stone with barely room enough to stand.
When I hold up and you're alone and fought off everything I am. I had the bullets and the bloodhounds at the door before you stormed away inside. And through the searchlights and the smoke, I saw the triumph in your eyes. I prayed that you would never leave. I prayed you would never stay. I let you rifle through my days. I let you rifle through my sight. Okay, I'll never be the same again. What do I do now? Walk this world alone. I can't do with or without. When you stopped coming home at night, I sat alone here for days. They came and repulled my disguise. They took the hope chest and the safe. I know I look a fright right now with these red and swollen eyes. Can't say I've ever been so down, but I can't say I'm surprised. Do I wait and watch the wrecking ball and then just turn and walk away? How quaint of me to think you called on Demolition Day. I can't believe I thought you called on Demolition Day.
I found an email where I wrote that the sessions were August 12th and 13th of that year, at least the sessions I participated in. I'm sure there were several days of other things after I was done, but then we played in Nashville, North Carolina date, August 27th. I don't even know what venue that would have been.
Free Eagle.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we had 4 days in a row, September 2, 3, 4, and 5, all at 12th and Porter. That's what's on my calendar from back then.
Wow.
Wow.
And then we did an Atlanta date on September 11th. And then we did that catatonic thing the day before Halloween, which was the official, because we did a Tower Records thing earlier that day. And then the catatonic place across the street from 12th and Porter, that was October 30.
Right.
Oh yeah. I remember that Cataton. That was the name of the joint. Cataton.
No, with a K.
The reason why I had that catatonic show in my head as possibly the recording was because I knew it was the album release show for The Haunting, but in my memory, it just disappointing. Like it was a disappointing show. I think it was the venue was too big and Halloween, we didn't get enough people, and I just remember it being It
sounded like a locker room.
It was a warehouse.
There was lots of concrete parallel surfaces, so everything's shot around and
So that's why I couldn't imagine that we had those sounds and those performances recorded at that venue. So Labor Day at 12th and Porter makes a hell of a lot
and
more
I
sense.
remember the Christopher Walken moment happening at 12th and Porter too, because that was the night when we did some countless number of encores. We kept walking off and they would keep screaming.
Yeah.
And finally Steele changes clothes and goes out there.
Hello. You people, you look wonderful tonight. I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's right. And we followed that with Loser for the evening. But I don't know what we closed with that night, but it wasn't Vanishing Man. Vanishing Man was the second of the first 2-song encore.
Okay.
We went up and did something mellow, and then we said, let's just slam it, man. And we did.
Streets of my south, I've been driving round in circles for years now. These little railroad towns are so strangely lit at sundown. I'm a wind in the wind. I can't find my way through this maze of the pace and the space and the grace and decay. Can't bear to stay, I can't leave. But I can't look away. I'm the wind in the wind. Still in the lead. I'm a light in the hole and no hand in your hand. I'm a wandering soul, I'm no vanishing man. Vanishing man. Chain smoke till dawn by the green glow of the dash and the cell phone. A little sea keeps cycling along, bursting creatures in Spanish and static in songs, and I don't have a home. I still don't have a home. Just when you think I'm in the palm of your hand, you hear clattering rattles and rattling cans. I'm a ghost in a grandstand, sack full of wind. I'm a rat in the rafters and a rat in the gin. In the cool big bone down, I'm a freak out the throne. I'm a breath on the back of your neck, and I'm gone. I'm so goddamn alive. All I believe.
a magnificent man. Such a brave little man. I'm a terrified man.
So guys, to the fans out there, yeah, as Scott mentioned earlier, you know, it's an event that if you have any documentation of, we certainly want. And as I was saying earlier too, we do like, and we're going to lean into this. I'm going to own it. We do like and believe in putting attention on the songs. But this is very much a band album. This is this album, you know, everything pretty much after we all got together were band records, but this is the band live album. This is us at our finest and most dialed in and most imaginative as well.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys, I hope the fans out there like the sound, because it's the best sounding live album you ever read, in my opinion.
I was pretty shocked at how, I mean, sonically, when we listened to it several weeks ago on this thing, you know, it brought back some serious memories, you know, definitely. And I was amazed at how great it was recorded. I mean, the quality definitely there.
Well, it's not just how it was recorded. If you put shit into the sound system, you'll get shit out.
Right.
Well, but, I mean,
that was the catatonic show. Right?
Yeah, well, we gave him gold to work with.
I guess so.
Well, listen, guys, you know, I have to tell you, just listening to those recordings and all the stuff we've been doing surrounding this release, it's just a huge smile comes to my face when I listen to it. And I've already told you this, Steve, but, you know, listening to what we were able to do together as a rhythm section just makes me just, there's so many fond memories of those grooves with you. And I appreciate you as a drummer, appreciate you as a friend, and same to you, Cottros.
Yeah, man.
Lemon Pie Start, and we never let you leave. So good times.
We know how to spot talent.
Yes.
That groove you mentioned, that night, and on so many of these various bootlegs I've been trying to listen to, was merciless. It was badass, and that gave us so much. And you know, Chris and David always knew when to play just behind the beat.
Yeah.
And if Nardone said anything over there, it was worth hearing.
Well, maybe we'll use that as the time to wrap it up. And any last words, Mr. Holmes? Or anybody else?
No, not from me.
I mean, you know, all this, we talk about all this stuff, and I think about like the first segment of my time with you guys with Bishop on drums, and that was the groovy thing And then obviously with my bro, Steve, who I've played a gazillion gigs and sessions with since then. I mean, man, just great times, great musical energy.
Yeah. You know, I think the undeniable thing that everybody's going to take from this live recording is you can hear us having so much damn fun.
Yeah.
You can just tell that's a bunch of guys that are delighted with what's happening.
Delirious, you know, and I had remember the Idle Hours video and the story I told about that being the first time we had everybody on stage for that one. This whole night was like that. The whole album's like that. You can hear it, and I can hear myself smile. I can hear Scott smile. You know, in some of this stuff. And I can hear Cottros over there instigating something, some sort of conspiracy going on over there.
Probably cooking up something.
I can smell David's amp, and I can see I can see Steve's face when he goes, hold on. Let's go this way.
Well, yeah, Steve had to steer the ship when we were all getting kind of.
Good stuff. Yeah.
So much fun.
All right, cats. Listen, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for everybody.
Love it.
For watching. We'll do more and more of these as we get a chance.
Good stuff.
Take care, guys.
All right. See you guys.
See you, man. I'm out.
Well, here's your call, Flotilla. We're looking for photos and or video from what we think was the Labor Day show 2004 at 12th and Porter. If you were there, check your media. Send us any pictures you got. You can post it on the Facebook group, or you can send it to us. We're looking for evidence of a potential crime.
There is audio suggesting we were present.